Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we dig up, divide, and transplant some Speedwell. So let's go. It is the end of April, and springtime is a great time to be dividing and moving perennials all around your yard. When it comes to Speedwell, also known as Veronica, spring or fall are wonderful times for dividing that perennial. We're currently sitting on the east side of my house. I'm in the middle of what I call the rose garden. However, the roses are still waking up, but you can see all around me are a whole bunch of beautiful daffodils that are in their glory. I made a mental note last year about this particular bed. I loved the roses when they were blooming, and what I had done last year was in the center I planted a whole bunch of wax begonias that I started from seed. I loved that look, but the one thing I didn't like was that they were short. You didn't really notice the begonias when they were in the center of this bed. So I told myself I'm going to change it this year. What I'm going to do is plant those wax begonias that I started from seed again on the outer part of this flower bed. And I had asked you in a previous video, what should I plant in the center of this bed? Because I was stumped. Someone said, why not divide the Speedwell or Veronica that I have in the front yard and move some of that over in this bed? I love that idea so much. I'm going to steal that idea, and that's what we're going to do today. Let me bring you over to the front of my house, which is the west side of my house, and I'm going to show you where all my Speedwell is. Here we are at the bay window bed. This is the only area in my yard where I currently have the Speedwell. It's called Royal Candles. It is so beautiful. It has very tall purple spikes that bloom during the summer months. One thing I also mentioned in last year's video was, as much as I love that plant in here, I wanted some other pop of color that bloomed as soon as the Veronica went by. And I was thinking of popping in some black-eyed Susan or Rebecca. So what I was thinking when I was looking at this flower bed last year was, why don't I take out every other Veronica and replace it with the black-eyed Susan? I didn't get to it last year, but you better believe it, I'm going to tackle that job this year. Even if we don't do all of that today, that's my plan for this year. I originally started with one plant that I had bought from a store, and since then I've divided it a number of times. So here you can see there are 4 plants. I have another one here, and by the way, in case you're wondering what that yellow daisy-like flower is, that's called leopard's bane, and it's a perennial that blooms during the very early spring months. And then I have another 4 of the Speedwell tucked in on this side of the flower bed. The scope of today's project is for me to show you my process for digging up, dividing, and moving that Speedwell. But outside of this video, I'll be coming in and taking out every other Speedwell, replacing it with some black-eyed Susan that I have in my backyard plant nursery. Now let me show you everything I'm going to be using to do this project today. We have a kneeling pad, garden gloves, a handsaw. To open it, you press this button, and it looks like that when you open it up. Hand pruners, although I'm not sure we'll be needing them today, but just in case. A large shovel. And we'll need water to water in our plants after we're done transplanting them. You can see we have a Speedwell right there. And last year I did manage to dig one up, and I showed you how to divide it a year ago. And that's where we have an empty spot. And as we continue moving this way, we have another Speedwell that's located right there. We're going to keep that one because my plan is to alternate. So we're going to keep that one in place. And what we'll end up doing is digging the one that's right next to it, right over there. We still have last year's old growth here. So I'm going to use my hand pruners. I'm going to follow them all the way down to the base, and I'm just going to cut them off. Next, I'm going to use my shovel, and I'm going to dig. I don't want to dig right at the base. I'm going to dig just a little bit away from the base. I don't want to damage the plant. And I'm just trying to carefully pry it out. I can also go on the other side of the plant and try to dig. I have some mulch at the base of the plant. I might as well just take that off because I want to keep the mulch here since I had just mulched this bed last year. Also, I am taking off some of the soil on the bottom because I don't want there to be a huge hole in this area of my flower bed. I could take the soil with me if I wanted to, and then I could always replace the soil down here where there's a hole. Either way would work. This flower bed is full of lupin seedlings. So you can see there's one here, And there's one here. Well, I'm going to be potting those up and adding them part of my backyard plant nursery. And this area where we just dug up the Speedwell, I'm going to leave it open just like that, so it's a reminder to me that that's where I want to pop in some black-eyed Susan. All perennials, including Speedwell, benefit from being divided every 3 to 5 years. If you don't divide your perennials every 3 to 5 years, what ends up happening is the plants become less vigorous and they may actually start blooming less for you. I could take this whole clump as is and put it into my rose garden, but I'm planning to cut it right in half, and I'll put one half in one section, another half in another section. I'm going to use my handsaw to do the job, and I want to show you with some perennials, you can tug them and pull them apart. This perennial is very tightly woven in with its roots, so I'm not able to easily pull it apart, and I don't want to stress the plant out by doing that. So I'd rather come in and just make a division using my handsaw. It's always a good idea to see if there's a natural break where you can make your division. I'm not seeing a very natural break, but I'm thinking of just cutting right in here. And when I cut in the center, it's very likely that maybe 1 or 2 of the plants here might not make it during the division. That's totally fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to slice right through the center of this plant. It might not be a 100% even distribution of plants. Totally okay. And this plant right here, well, I might as well turn it into a cutting. What I'm going to do is strip off the lower leaves. I'm going to put it in a small pot with pre-moistened potting mix. I'm going to put this in the shade and I'm going to create a cutting out of it so it roots and creates a new plant for me. Just strip off some of the bottom leaves here. As long as I leave a few leaves on the top, it should be fine. I have a pot with potting mix here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to stick this piece in here, push the soil around it, give it some water, and then I'm going to end up putting this in a shady area so that it can recover from the shock. I'll check it in a few weeks and see if it's created roots for me. This is where I've placed a division. And in case you're wondering what that wooden thing is, there's a little sphere that came from my mother-in-law's. I need to put it back here in the center. I thought it would look really pretty with having the Veronica around that sphere. So we're going to place 2 of them on either side of it. And then my goal is to dig up 1 more clump, divide it, and I'm going to place it on the other sides of the sphere. I think that will look really pretty. And when the daffodils go by, the Veronica will get taller and it'll bloom this summer. I have some mulch here. So it's always a good idea if you have mulch in a flower bed, pull your mulch aside first, anytime before you start doing any digging. We want to make sure we're digging so that all the roots here are below soil level, and this green part, the crown up, is above soil level. So if you look at this, that's probably at least 2 inches, maybe 3 inches. That's how big of a hole I'm going to make. And I want it to be wide enough so that it accommodates this full plant here. And I'm just checking the depth, and that's actually a very good depth. If the soil was very dry, I would have put water in there, but right now the soil is very wet, so I don't need to add any additional water in the planting hole. I can go ahead now and just backfill. And I'm pressing down. I want to make sure that the roots are anchored into the soil. And I'm going to give this a drink of water. Even though the soil is wet, it's going to be 82 degrees Fahrenheit today. I want to make sure that this plant doesn't go under any more shock than necessary. Even though I've watered it now, I really should water it over the next few days just to make sure that the plant recovers from the shock. Trying to just move aside the mulch. I am working in pretty tight quarters here because I have all these daffodils here, but it's all good. It should work. In a way, I'm glad that we did divide the Veronica because I don't know if it would have fit if we didn't divide it. And you know how it goes with perennials. This perennial will end up being double the size within a year or 2. I'm just checking the depth to make sure that it's deep enough but not too deep, and that looks perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and backfill around it. If I did not have good soil, I could add some compost into the planting hole. This flower bed's been amended so many times. It has really good soil. So I will not be adding anything additional in the planting hole. I'm just backfilling around it. I have some 10-10-10 fertilizer. It's just an all-purpose fertilizer. I like to put fertilizer around all my perennials during the early spring months. I only do it once during the year, and I am just sprinkling it around the plant. I'm trying not to do it right at the base of the plant, just around it. And I'm going to go ahead and just rake that in with my hands and give this a little bit of water. I'm going to give this plant a little fertilizer as well. Two plants have been moved, two more to go. I think that's going to look so pretty, having that nice pop of purple color to complement the pink, white, and yellow roses that are in this rose garden. And then you can imagine I'll have white and maybe even pink wax begonia lining the outside part of this rose garden. And then it finally gives me the chance to do what I want to do in my bay window bed, which is alternate between the Veronica as well as the black-eyed Susan. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I like bringing you along not only to show you how to divide and move a plant, but also to give you ideas from a design aspect. We're always trying to design our flower beds. We want different colors, we want things blooming at different times of the year. And I'll definitely show you in a future garden tour how this project turns out. Let me know what you're working on in your flower beds. Are you redesigning any of your beds? Do you have Veronica Speedwell, and have you ever divided it? Please drop it down in the comment section below. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.